even pornography is a simple release to get instant gratification
Yeah.
and have needs
You've got
being met
Tinder,
immediately.
you got OnlyFans. Why would you get married? Why would you get locked into one person when you've got the world is at your fingertip? Why are men not getting married these days? Like when we look back in the last 30, 40 years, like I got married to Kerry when I was 27. I think most people I know right now, most of my friends, I'm 33, most of them aren't married, most of them don't have children. Why do you think most men are kind of delaying? Like back in our parents' days, you go back 20 years, people would get married at 22, have kids by 24. And when I look at Kerry having kids at 30 and like how much her body is getting smashed because she's a little bit older, she's 33 having kids, and her number one wish was, I regret having kids too late at 33, or she had Ocean at 30. She wished that she was like, man, if I could do it back at 18, I would, because that's when I could really bounce back. Why do you think men are so reluctant to get married? Like you look at the next generation, the 25-year-old. If I talk to the 25-year-old, I got abs in next door, and I talk to him, and he's nowhere near marriage, right? He's like, yo, no, I'm not getting married. We know plenty of other men that are delaying marriage. Why do you think? I've got my own answer, but I'd love to hear what your thoughts are.
Mm. It's a fair point, and I think because I'm so far into the space and the work of men who are already married, I probably haven't given it a great deal of thought. But if I was going to shoot from the hip, so to speak, and talk intuitively, it's probably a couple of different reasons. Firstly, logically, in today's world, and I know I mentioned briefly the court system if divorce was an outcome for for a couple that was married, logically, there seems to be very few pros versus cons for a man to be bound that way.
Do you think like the 25-year-old thinks shit like, oh, it's not a man's world out there with the courts, so I'm not going to get married? Like,
Mm.
do a lot of men think that way? The younger men
Um,
that are coming up?
I think they're aware of
I
it.
think
Like,
that's for the
yeah,
older men. I think that's for the
yeah.
guys inside the community. They're like, fuck, I've been screwed over. And it's not until you've been screwed or you're going through a divorce that you're really aware to that.
Potentially, maybe it's more so the availability, what they've actually got access to on other things that could, um, you know, fill the void, close the gap. Maybe they don't understand the value of father, but I'd say it's very easy these days with even pornography is a simple release to get instant gratification
Yeah.
and have needs
You've got
being met
Tinder,
immediately.
you got OnlyFans. Why would you get married? Why would you get locked into one person when you've got the world is at your fingertip? I had a great theory on this, and I just think that over time men have gotten weaker and softer, and they've become less committed to like, going all in on stuff. Funnily enough, this podcast all in, but you go back a generation, and men, we were laborers, we built cities, we were working nonstop all day, we were hardworking men. Now you've just got a society where men are less committed. You've got so many options available to you. You've got Tinder, you've got OnlyFans, you've got porn, you've got all these new things coming up. And so men don't have to get married. I think men are afraid. Like young men right now, the 25-year-olds, I probably wouldn't call them men. I'd call them boys. They're afraid of commitment, and because they're afraid of what happens after marriage. You're married, there's all this responsibility that you have to take on, because generally what happens is, okay, you want to get married, you have to buy a ring. A ring's not cheap, dude. Like an engagement ring, a diamond ring, you're looking at anywhere between $5,000 and $30,000 if you're between that range. Then you've got the ring, then you've got the marriage ceremony. What's that? 30, 50, $60,000 there. Then after the marriage ceremony, you've got to buy a house, because that's what your parents want. That's what your in-laws want you to do. Hey, you have to buy a house, look after my daughter. Then after a house, you've got a baby. And so there's this thing where like the guy is at the edge of the cliff. And I think I felt like I didn't feel this way at 27. I just knew I wanted to marry Kerry. But I'm just starting to see it more and more, is that there's this fear. It's kind of like, for most of us guys, right? Generally how we've grown up is we delay shit as long as possible. If we can push it off, we can push it off. Right? And so if we have any, like our gut instinct is either all in, or like we're kind of pushing things off. Like, you want to take the garbage down the bin? Oh no, not tonight. I'll forget. It's not a big deal, until your wife tells you, hey, take the garbage down the bin. I'm like, all right, I'll take it down. I'll take the kids out, right? Generally, that's how us guys operate. We generally think about 2 to 3 things a day, and that's how we roll. So I think most boys out there, they're just afraid of commitment, and they're afraid of responsibility. They're so afraid of responsibility because after you get married, you now have to become a man. You now are committed to going, shit, I need to figure out how to make this work. And the 25-year-olds right now, they have barely got their lives figured out. They don't know what they're gonna do. They don't know how to make money. They're still confused about, you know, living in the past and, you know, going with they're not thinking about their future. And so I think that's one of, I think when I look at it, that's kind of what I see.